Central all units. Can I have anybody en route to Motel 6? Motel 6, we have in Bay St. Louis, we have 2 officers down.
I want to reiterate to you, there are 2 law enforcement officers. One was in his early 20s and one was in his early 30s. They were murdered by a mother. Her baby was sitting right there with her, with the dog, when she murdered 2 cops and then killed herself. And you're going to tell me that I have to look past all of this evidence that the roommates could have done this, we're in a perfect position to do this, and I have to find some mystery man to insert here because women just don't do things like this? Y'all have lost y'all damn mind. Welcome to Innocent Until. Nice to meet you. I plan on being here for a while. That's some reality missing.
I guess out of spite of revenge.
What do you mean by that? Like why?
Just in general, like, I mean, the U.S. killed Soleimani. That's a blood spill. So I feel like it's fair for Americans. I guess out of spite of revenge. So I feel like it's fair for Americans.
Innocent until. I wanted to give an update on the Idaho 4 case. I'm going to be honest with you. There's not much to talk about. I don't want to be one of those people who are just running to YouTube trying to make content. I want to slow down and make content that matters. And so I appreciate the people who are speculating on a daily basis, on a moment-by-moment basis, while not unnecessarily accusing what could be very well be innocent people. So I appreciate those people, but I don't feel the need to run to the internet. I'm actually working on another story right now. I don't feel the need to run to the internet every time something breaks or another speculation breaks. So just like in this situation, now News Nation they're telling us about what a death row inmate says. You know, the killer was in the house. Well, respectfully, News Nation, and shout out to Brian because he does such great coverage, man. And please be safe out there. News Nation, we didn't need a death row inmate to tell us that the killer was possibly already in the house. I don't know where you guys were going with this angle. Now I'm thinking that you're just like these channels that just want to throw content up like to generate views or something. Like, we've all speculated that. I don't know why you thought telling us a death row inmate speculated it made it any more substantial. And the one lady says because he's in the mind of a criminal. You don't have to be a criminal to be in the mind of a criminal. Isn't that what detectives do all of the time? Like, they try their best to get into the minds of criminals. So I don't know. This sounds a little just like, let's get some content out to me. But with that in mind, since we're speculating that maybe the criminal was in the house, I've been telling you that from the beginning. They live there. I don't know why you guys keep overlooking this. We've heard, I'll address that, the parents say the coroner told the daughter that some details about the wounds or something. I'm going to be honest with you. I've heard things about law enforcement in this case and the coroner, and I've heard things. I want to stress heard. I don't know these people. I've never seen them in my life. If you put them in front of me right now besides the captain, I wouldn't be able to point them out. So I don't want to condemn these people or say things about them that aren't true, but let's just speculate fairly. Let's try to go for fair speculation and balanced speculation. This is a small town. I mean, that's all we keep hearing. Small town, small town, small town. I'm familiar with small towns. It wouldn't surprise me that the coroner, I'm trying not to say women gossip, y'all, but women gossip. It's just the truth. I'm sorry y'all don't want to hear it. Wouldn't surprise me that she gossiped and let some details slip. It wouldn't surprise me that some of the law enforcement, the male law enforcement, is gossiping and let some details slip. Or maybe just told that girl or whatever, man. Let's remember, all of these situations involve very real humans, and humans are capable of anything. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that the coroner, the officers, whoever may have let some information slip. I'm going to tell you what I have a problem with. I don't give a darn how much women or anybody gossips, man. I don't think a coroner is on the phone telling a 17-year-old what happened in the murder case. It's going to be a hard sell for me. I know the mother said it. I know how our misandric feminist systems are set up. We're supposed to believe everything women say. I'm sorry, that's not ever going to happen over here at Innocent Until. You're listening to the person that believed 2 women were responsible for these murders. Why would I pretend that we got to believe everything women say? If women are capable of murder, which the evidence indicates over and over and over again, why aren't women capable of fabricating stories? Why would the parents, the mom, say something like this? that the coroner said this. They've been saying a lot. The families. Y'all help me out here. Is it the one family that's doing all this talking, or is it multiple families? But they've been saying a lot. Why would the coroner tell a 17-year-old that? That just makes no sense to me. I think these are hurting parents and they're grasping for straws. Now let me rewind a little bit. I said hurting parents grasping for straws. Is that so hard to believe, imagine? We know what happened there, right? The baby was murdered. They think they have details about how the baby was murdered. The details that they think they have make me want to do some things that, they evoke emotions. That's what we're going to go with when we say, like, we have those emotions that we have to quell, we have to set them down so we don't become criminal. Excuse me, sir. I know this is serious, but I just looked that word up. It's quell, sir. It's quell, not quill. I really thought you made it up, but it's a word, but it's quell, sir, not quill. Sorry. I was going to say they evoke emotion because certain things evoke passions. We're responsible adults. We're supposed to be able to get that under control lest we become these criminals we're looking for. So, of course, they're going to be reaching for things, feeling things. That's not problematic for me in and of itself. It's part of the human experience when something like this happens to someone you love. The problem for me is when we just begin to take these things at face value simply because they're saying it, simply because they're victims, simply because it's a mother saying it. We have to stick with the facts, guys. So I don't know if the coroner said that. Moving along. This smoke shop guy, whoever he was, that, Kaylee had said that Kaylee had a stalker because one of the friends said that a friend had been, being stalked, and then they motioned toward Kaylee. Brother, I'm just gonna be honest with you. Your story, while you were telling the story on camera, it did sound like you were making it up. Then you said a friend said it. Then to connect it to the one of the victims, Kaylee, I think you said when she said it, she motioned toward Kaylee. And this is what the reporter said. I need to touch on this. Shout out to the one detective that said sometimes we make much of things that aren't as much as we're making of them. And that was his nice way of saying, sometimes guys are trying to approach women and women take it as stalking. It's not stalking. It's a man trying to pursue a woman as men have been taught since they were little boys, gentlemen do. It's just that we live in such a feminist age now, anything can be considered an offense that men are committing. The detective, that's what he was saying. But that's not what the other reporter said. The reporter said the exact opposite thing, which is true. Sometimes we shrug off things that shouldn't be shrugged off. I'm just going to be honest with you. Because this was such a horrific murder that happened, I don't think the stalking angle should be just shrugged off. But I also don't think there's much to it. I don't think there's much to it because every time I hear somebody talking about it, they seem to be adding more to it of their own accord to try to make it something. That's just my opinion of the stalker situation. What else do we have? I don't even want to talk about the guy that went out and found the glove at the scene. All of that just sounds way too fabricated and made up to me. Somebody trying to get in on the story. Like I'm beginning to think maybe the guy who heard the scream. What else do we have? We have Brian out there, walking the possible escape path. Brian, the only escape that was made, in my opinion, is the roommates are being helped to escape with the evidence that they hid from the murder. So, I don't think you have much to look for. The police have expanded their search. My opinion of that, there are two angles that I've heard. Is because they're reaching and grasping for straws. The other angle is because they have a lead. I definitely think it's the latter. I think they have a lead. I think they know what they're looking for. I don't even think it's a who. I think you've heard my story. If not, go look at the beginning. The roommates were always the best suspect. And by the beginning, I mean my first video I did on this channel about this case. There's nothing to look for as it pertains to a who. We know who the suspects are. The captain said something very, very pertinent in not the last interview that he dropped, but the one before that. He said we want a solid arrest, an arrest that's going to be able to bring a conviction. I'm telling you guys, I just think they're waiting on the roommates to lead them to more evidence, very possibly even the murder weapon. I think that's what they're looking for. I think maybe this white car has something to do with helping them get away with the evidence. All of this is my supposition when I look at the roommates. And I'll end with this, finally, guys. You got to help me with this. You got to help me with this. Rest in peace to these victims. I understand the possibilities, and I understand that there are some possibilities I'm not even considering. But I think it, once again, Kaylee's name is all around this thing, man. And maybe it's because her parents are speaking out. But I think it was Kaylee had a dog, guys. I need to go slow here. Kaylee's dog, according to the officers, were in the house when the murders happened. And yet the dog never entered the crime scene, guys. We're going to rehash it a little bit and quickly, hopefully, so I can make this video short. We have 4 people killed in the house, 3 roommates, 1 visitor. 3 females, 1 male. We have a few people that say maybe they heard a scream, but by and large, everybody is saying that the neighborhood was unusually quiet that night. We have 2 surviving roommates who allegedly woke up hours later to find one of the bodies that they thought was passed out in a murder scene that was bloody and gory, so bloody and gory that some of the blood was leaking through the siding or whatever you call it, the house, all the way outside, I mean in puddles. They overlooked all of that and they thought the body was passed out, all allegedly. Somebody, y'all stop me and correct me where I'm missing details. And then instead of calling first responders, they called friends first who came over, and then, first responders, and then they told the police that story. So we got to figure out how someone got in the house. We got to figure out how someone got past the locks, the new locks that were allegedly put on, maybe not put on. We got to figure out how someone murdered 4 people without anybody hearing anything really outside, or maybe just a few people maybe hearing faint screams. The roommates who were in the house definitely hearing nothing. We got to deal with how they woke up and saw a dead body that was stabbed to death, but somehow thought it was passed out. We got to deal with a lot, guys. We got to deal with the dog being subdued so it never touched the murder scene. Never got any blood anywhere in a bloody murder scene where 4 people were stabbed to death. And we got to deal with the fact that they were able to stab 4 people to death and get away clean. And we got to do with a lot of more things that I'm not even saying right now. Yes, excuse me again, sir. You also left out that we have to deal with the fact that out of the 6 people in the house, the 4 were murdered, and they were the 2 that were left alive. And one reason that could be, again, is because they never planned to murder themselves. Just wanted to throw that in there. And it doesn't cross any of y'all mind that the people who were in perfect position to do all of this and have all of us wondering right now, even to the very fine point that they know nobody's ever going to think we did this. We're females, we're college students, we're young, we're bright, bushy-eyed, blue-eyed, beautiful, harmless. We can get away with this. Some people are speculating jealousy. Some people are speculating one of the victims was targeted more. And we can consider that all of these mystery men did it. All of these mystery men we can't tell you how they got through these hurdles. We can't tell you how they got in the house past the house locks, the exterior locks. We can't tell you how they got past the interior locks. We can't tell you how they were able to murder these 4 people and get away clean without anybody hearing anything. But what we can tell you is that some guy did it. One of these guys did it, because there's no way that the roommates could have got past those locks. There's no way that the roommates could have put the dogs up. There's no way that the roommates could have heard hid the murder weapon and staged the scene in the time that they pretended they would sleep to the time that they called the cops and pretended that they somehow thought a stabbed to death dead body was only passed out. My apologies. Pause for technical difficulties. We're right back to it. Women, we're women. Women don't do things like this. Bunny wasn't arguably more murderous than Clyde. Amy Brogdon didn't murder 2 cops in Mississippi, was that? Tennessee, I'm pretty sure Mississippi though. In front of her 8-year-old daughter when they came out to help her. I literally mean a few days ago. Let me repeat that. Amy Brogdon didn't murder a early 30-year-old and early 20-year-old cop, 2 law enforcement officers in front of her 8-year-old daughter. A young lady didn't lure a young man to a motel room, I think earlier this year in March. The story is coming out now. Don't quote me on the date, but she didn't lure that young man to a motel room to have sex. And once they began to be intimate, then pulled out a knife and stabbed him to death. I think either in his neck or in his head, but definitely to death. That didn't happen because women don't do things like this. Those 3 gentlemen, and just those 3, won't be away from their families this Christmas and their families away from them forever because of women, right? All of the horrendous crimes that have been committed in human history because of women, all of the victims that we've seen because of women, that we could just go and we see it in the news every day as much as we see men. But like the one story where the teacher, 24 years old, was sleeping with the 14-year-old boy, they didn't say she molested him. They didn't say she sexually assaulted him. They said she had a sexual relationship with them. That's why I want to talk to you guys about these statistics that you love to throw around to cape for your misandry. When you say, no, but men do it more. No, men don't do it more. I don't believe that. And if you're going to tell me men do it more, you have to bring me something other than these doctored statistics, because if women can murder their children and go to mental institutions because doctors, I'm doing the air quotes here, say they're suffering from postpartum depression. If a woman can drown her babies and not be called a mass murderer, she does not go on the female mass murdering list because she had, air quotes, postpartum depression. Please show me a time in human history where a man murdered multiple children and didn't get called everything but a child of God, in and out of court, on and off the data. There will be no rescue excuses, medical conditions, etc., for him. He's simply a monster. In the court of public opinion, in the courts where fates are decided, and in the data used to build the statistics you bring to me trying to justify your misandry. Not so for her, because let's go slow in those same three places. The court of public opinion, the courts where fates are decided, and in the data that you bring to me trying to justify your misandry. Let's not forget, she, being a 24-year-old adult, did not RAPE a 14-year-old school kid. She only had a sexual relationship with him. You gotta bring me more than doctor statistics. I live in reality, and I think too much for that. And reality tells me that these dangerous women are as dangerous as these dangerous men. Let's get back to it. The absolute worst kind of murderer in the legal system and in the streets. It doesn't happen. That's why you cannot bring me these statistics. When women commit these crimes, they are always minimized. When men commit, and when I say always, obviously I'm exaggerating a little, but when men commit them, they are always exaggerated. Now, can you exaggerate horrible crimes? No, you can't, but you get the point I'm making. Me again. I disagree respectfully. I think you can exaggerate horrible crimes when you minimize them. I think that is the exaggeration of horrible crimes, the minimizing of them. I don't know, just my opinion, man. Do what you've done. This is not me supposing here. I can show you these stories of women committing the same crimes men commit, but when it comes to the legal system, they are not categorized the same. So therefore, when you say 50 women committed these crimes and 50 men committed these crimes, when it comes out in the statistics, it's going to say 49 men committed these crimes and 23 women committed these crimes. Y'all gonna post those statistics on Twitter and try to convince me that men do it more. I know better. I'm a real true crime fan. I see what's going on in our world. I want to reiterate to you, there are two law enforcement officers. One was in his early 20s and one was in his early 30s. They were murdered by a mother. Her baby was sitting right there with her, with the dog, when she murdered two cops and then killed herself. And you're going to tell me that I have to look past all of this evidence that the roommates could have done this, we're in a perfect position to do this, and I have to find some mystery man to insert here because women just don't do things like this? Y'all have lost y'all damn mind. Welcome to Innocent Until. Nice to meet you. I plan on being here for a while. That's some reality missing. God will control that. He will decide that. I don't know. Maybe here to go tomorrow. Some reality missing, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry I'm not here for feelings. I think before I came on, I had reached 88 subscribers. Praise God. I want to get bigger and bigger. Of course I do. But more importantly, I want people to be able to walk around safe. I want people to know that men are loving people. We're here to love you. We're here to help you if we can. We're here to protect you. We're not sitting around finding ways to harm you. You know who's sitting around finding ways to harm you? You know who's sitting around finding ways to break in your house? You know who's sitting around finding ways to murder you? Human beings. Men women and children. There's a young boy right now going through the court system because allegedly he shot his mother because she wouldn't buy him a video game, if I can remember correctly. I just seen a story where a high school student was, I think a college student, young man was shot, and he murdered somebody because he was in a situation with a girl. I want to get into the details, and she set him up to be robbed by some people. He ended up being shot and ended up murdering one of the assailants because a woman set him up to be robbed. I'm sorry you guys want to live in this world where we only have to protect ourselves from the dangers that men perpetrate. I want us to be protected from danger. And when danger does present itself and we lose people in horrific ways, I want us to be safe from the people who committed these crimes, not just the men that we suppose may have committed them. Clemente Aguirre, I probably said his name wrong again, 14 years in prison, 10 and a half on death row for a murder, a double murder of women that another woman committed. A mother and her mother were murdered. The daughter did it, meaning the daughter murdered her mother and her grandmother, and an innocent man went to prison for 14 years for Clemente Aguirre. I detailed the case in my earlier videos. You can check it out. I don't know these women committed these crimes, guys. I say it in every video. I'm just saying, you cannot tell me that you thought a stabbed to death body was passed out in a bloody murder scene that you didn't, for some reason, you didn't see any of the details, the blood, the gore, anything. Then the dog got put up. You definitely could have put the dog up. You definitely could have bypassed all the security, the locks and everything. You definitely were in a position where you could have drugged the roommates. You definitely were in a position where you could have even gotten in their rooms and subdued them. They would not have been afraid or worried, I think, to see you in their room in the middle of the night. You're their roommate. It was two of y'all. You're not going to convince me that one solo man could have done all of this and gotten away with it, leaving no clues, but the roommates couldn't have. So, again, what I think, the cops know the roommates did it because that story was BS and nobody in their right mind would believe it, and especially experienced law enforcement officers. I think they're waiting for the roommates to lead them to the evidence, very possibly the murder weapon. I think very possibly the white car had something to do with it. I'm thinking maybe they got rid of helped them get rid of the evidence, some evidence. And I'm thinking the police know all of this and they're just waiting, guys. This is my supposition. Obviously, I don't know any of this is true, but I am still disgusted by the fact that you guys won't even consider this when it's so very obvious. I guess this is the perfect time for me to say that I am in the depths of my soul praying that we would get justice in this case. And when I say justice, I don't mean that with a simple arrest, because an arrest does not mean someone is guilty. Justice means we give them a fair chance in the justice system. And, you know, we come to the best fair conclusion that we could come to. I pray that we get that very soon. The process at least started. And like the captain says, a good arrest. And if it is not the roommates, I will apologize just as fervently, just as articulately, just as boldly and bluntly as I've been saying that I'm absolutely sure in my soul that they either are the perpetrators or had something to do with it. I'm convinced, not sure. Let me say that again. I'm absolutely convinced in my soul that they are the perpetrators or had something to do with it. And if they're not, I will apologize, because even the roommates, guys, are not guilty until they're proven innocent. They're innocent until I'm gone.
Now, there's been a tremendous outpouring of support for the Bay St. Louis police officers killed in the attack. Officers Stephen Robin and Brandon Estorff, they were respectively 34 and 23 years old. Bill Snyder has more tonight on how the deadly incident unfolded.
Central all units, can I have anybody en route to Motel 6? Motel 6, we have in Bay St. Louis, we have 2 officers down.